Well, hello. Welcome to Till Death Do I Part, a new podcast I'm putting out, which is launching today. Just to try to keep people updated on what's going on in my life, but also opportunity possibly to help others along the same journey. Let me give you an update. About a month ago, um, went to my doctor's, or actually 6 months ago, went to my doctor, and my diabetes was bad, which isn't uncommon in my world, by the way. And I have a hard time putting down sugar. And so my doctor said, I'm going to put you on medication if you don't get it under control. So I started diet, exercise, other things like that. And I lost a bunch of weight. Well, in the process of losing weight, I noticed I had a bulge on my side, and it's causing a little bit of uncomfortableness. And my doctor thought it was an ulcer. And so I began the process of going through an ultrasound. In the process of that ultrasound, they discovered I had a very large tumor on my kidney. So my doctor called me immediately and said, "You need to see a urologist." I went and saw a urologist, and he ordered a CAT scan and a CT scan to see um, if it had moved at all. It was so large, they're not even going to biopsy it. They are pretty confident it's cancer, which is a wonderful news to hear. And so then they did the CT scan and the chest CT scan and the CAT scan, which are interesting scans. They just basically put you in on a table and they take pictures of your insides. They put an IV in you for contrast, and it makes the pictures pop, which they don't give you a copy of. So I have no idea what I look like. But apparently, in that process, it showed that my tumor was so big they had to remove my complete kidney, but they also found um, some things in my lungs, multiple tumors, my urologist called them. Um, and they do not believe they're connected, but right now they're focused on the kidney. And so it's like anything else in this kind of journey when you get news of what's kind of going these anytime anybody ever uses the word cancer, it becomes a kind of a death sentence, really. People begin to really panic. I know my wife, Athena, we've been married for almost 30 years. She began to see life a little bit differently as a result of the cancer. And then all of a sudden you begin to realize you begin to look at your life a little bit different. I'm only 52 years old. And all of a sudden I began to say, well, I might not have as much time. And no one's given us a time limit or said we're in this stage or any of that kind of stuff. We're still brand new to this whole thing. But it's amazing what your mind begins to think about as you hear the word cancer. And so, I'm a pastor of a church and I have been a pastor for 30 years. And I've also watched people go through cancer, and I've watched them, and I've buried many of them who have been through this journey of cancer. Cancer is obviously a horrible thing. So that also weighs on your mind, right? When you get cancer, you begin to contemplate pain, suffering, all these other things. And then being a pastor, um, your faith becomes a question mark of, why is God allowing me to go through this? Why me, God? All those other things obviously creep into every human being. Now, you don't vocalize them sometimes, but you think about them like, oh no, why am I going through this? What's going on? So, my goal in this podcast was first and foremost to update everybody along the journey of what I'm going through, but also to uh, tell people about what I'm trying, the different things that are going on, different trials, different medications, how they make me feel, and kind of diagnose the process. But in the end, well, we are going to talk a lot about death. Um, and we have no idea where this is going. We have no idea if the lungs will become serious and then they want to do an MRI to see if it's in my brain. And, um, as word gets more and more, as they do more and more, the idea of possibilities begin to be in reality. And so, although I say a lot, I'm not afraid of death. Death is not something I crave or want, um, but it will happen to all of us eventually. So I thought maybe if I tell people about my journey, then family and friends who I can't possibly call everybody and update them. And there are times where there is no update. Like right now, my urologist called and he said the next phase is to remove your kidney. And I'll have my person call you and we'll schedule an appointment first available to get it out of there. It is uncomfortable. I'm in pain. I can't sleep at night. There are issues with the whole thing. But I mean, it is life, and I just keep rolling along. But I would like it out of there. But the process of getting your kidney removed and the scars and the recovery time and then the hopes that your other kidney will be able to be healthy enough to absorb the work of two kidneys, which if you're a person of faith and you believe in God, I really believe that God designed our bodies to function normal with everything that's in there. So when we lose something, although we can live without it, it's not functioning the same way. And I get tired of people saying, you only need one kidney. You're fine, because that's not reality. Reality truly is we need two kidneys. One kidney, yes, you can survive, but you will not survive the same. Like I lost my appendix when I was a kid. It burst. People go, well, you didn't need it. We don't even know why it was there. It was there for a purpose. Your tonsils were there for a purpose. Everything's there for a purpose. Losing it, sure, you can still function, but it's not the same, right? Your body will be functioning less. And so when people tell me, oh man, you'll be fine without a kidney. I had a relative who lived a long time without a kidney. Yeah, that's true, but it's not going to be the same. And I don't think people realize that when they tell you these kind of things. They're just like, oh, it's all going to be fine. It's not. No, it's not. It will be fine, but it won't be the same. And I think that we need to document that part too, to let people know that as you go through this journey, I want you to be encouraged, but yet at the same time, things are going to change. Things are going to get difficult. Things are going to be tough. And it's okay to face that toughness and okay to acknowledge the fact that, I kind of don't want to lose my kidney. And I know there's a lot of unorthodox medical treatments out there. And let me be the first to say, I am not a medical doctor. I do not have a degree in medical, but I do have a degree in counseling, but I do not have a degree in the medical world on that level. And so I'm not looking to diagnose people and tell people that you need to be on this or be on that. I'm just going to document my journey and tell you what I'm on, whether it's recommended by a doctor or not. My wife is the complete opposite of me. I am the type of person that's like, okay, if the doctor says do it, I'll do it. Except for like if I can avoid it, right? So if I can stay off medication, I'll stay off medication by diet or exercise or whatever. But if there's something I can't stay off of, well, then I'll just get on it, right? So I'm not looking to say that doctors are the only way to do it, but I'm also not saying doctors are not a good way to do it. So, and so I'm along that same line. I have a lot of people being in a church. You have a lot of people on both sides of every issue, and sometimes they jump in and they go, well, you need to be on ivermectin, or you need to be doing castor oil, or you need to do red light therapy, or you need to do the benzoline one, or all this other stuff. And my wife is a big advocate of looking outside the box. And so in this journey, I'll share with you what I do, and also share you whether or not I feel it works or whether I'm feeling anything different. But I will be doing a lot of unorthodox things not because I necessarily believe in them, but because I know that my wife does, and it brings comfort to her through this whole process. And as long as it doesn't make me sick, or make it worse, then it's worth trying. One thing we do realize as we go through cancer is that you kind of willing to try anything because you really want that cancer gone. And the first thing my doctor told me was stop eating sugar. And I'm on the carnivore diet. I've been on that for about 6 months, which resolved my diabetes situation. And in that process, he said, don't eat sugar. And then I looked it up, and sure enough, sugar is cancer eats sugar and grows as a result of sugar. So if you're somebody with cancer or have had cancer, apparently the greatest thing you can do is stop eating sugar. Now, why America is so sugar addicted is probably explaining why we have such a bad issue with cancer. You go to some of these third world countries, and they don't have the same issue with cancer that the United States of America does. I've been to South Africa and other countries, and their cancers are very limited compared to what we have. It's beginning to come as an eye opener to me as I do more research why that is, how much sugar and how much things we put into our food that actually obviously feed on cancer. And the cancer doctors understand that. They're not hiding it. They're telling me, if you smoke, don't smoke anymore. And if you eat sugar, don't eat sugar anymore. In fact, many people recommended I go on a 10-day fast to starve cancer because it eats off of what you're eating. And there's a lot of medical studies on that. I'm not trying to say anything that's not, but I am saying that all that to say that through this journey, I'm going to share with you some things that probably are not medically recommended. And I'm not telling you must try them or do them. I'm just going to tell you my journey through it. And as the journey goes along, I'll update people as much as possible. They are going to schedule a surgery. And as a matter of fact, as I'm talking, I got a text from Trinity, which is the organization that's working with me. So maybe they are ready to schedule my surgery, and I'll let you know when the surgery. We'll keep the podcast going, even through surgeries or future or whatever. But I'm going to be talking reality. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to be healed and everything's going to be fine. I'm not going to act like that the journey is not existing. Many people try to put it out of their mind, pretend like it's not going on. And that's not how I'm choosing to deal with this. And people may not agree with that, and that's fine. I'm not afraid to die, and I'm not afraid to go through this. But I am looking for why. And maybe the why is so I help other people. And I'm okay with that too. Many people I know struggle with cancer and illnesses, and they may be looking for tips or support through the whole process. And maybe that is what I can be for you. If you want to write emails, the church email is on there on our website here. You can get in contact with me. You can leave comments on our site and our response, and I'll be happy to respond to anything that you have questions about on my journey. But there is just there's just going to be no faking it on this journey. I'm going to be truthful with you, how I'm feeling. If I'm in pain, I'm in pain. If I'm not, I'm not. And if I'm struggling with something, I'll be honest with this. And hopefully it'll help other people to vocalize what they're feeling also and not be afraid to vocalize it. I do feel the pressure to not be real automatically with people because of the fear that they will, I'll cause them to grieve or suffer and feel bad. I get a lot of that. People are like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you're going through this," and all this other stuff. And I feel like if I tell them the truth that I'm in pain, that I cause them to suffer a little bit. And so there's this hesitancy to tell people what you're really feeling. And that was the first time I've experienced that, really. Because everyone, they say, "Well, you're really upbeat." And I am upbeat. And I'm not afraid of this. And I'm going to keep moving until I die. That's why I named it "Till Death Do I Part." I might die as part of this podcast. I don't know. We're not guaranteed tomorrow, and everyone understands that. But the goal of this podcast is to help people through this journey of cancer, sickness, illness, and different trials. So this is really more of an introduction to tell you what we're going to be talking about. We'll have guests on the podcast too who are also facing things like this, that will struggle with different elements of their life. I have lots of friends who are struggling in life, and we're going to talk about blaming God, our conversations with God, and the processes through all of this. And right now, we'll probably do it every other week, just because not a lot is moving. But the next one, I'm going to talk about all the different non-traditional medications that I'm on. I know that there's a political world in all this, and I'm not going to be political because I really don't care whether or not the Democrats or Republicans agree with what I'm doing. I'm doing what other people recommend, but also what I think is best, and the way I handle it, and the way I talk about it, and the way I deal with it, and the way I deal with people. We're going to talk about how to tell people and what you should be private about, what you shouldn't be private about, in my opinion. I'm not a private person at all. And so I'm a very open person in my life. And so I'll be very open with this. Right now, I am on Tylenol for pain. I take it at night. I am on ivermectin. I know that's a horse medication. And I tell people, hey, I'd like to be healthy as a horse. A lot of people recommended that. There is some studies going on with that. And I'm not telling you whether it cures COVID or any of that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't care. All I know is that somebody recommended it, and my wife feels better that I'm on it. And then several of our friends have recommended it. So I'm trying it. And I get the apple flavored one from TSC or wherever it is. And I take just a little bit, eraser size every day. I'm sure I will have more evidence as they do the surgery if it helped at all. It doesn't taste bad right now to me, and it doesn't actually cause any pain or any suffering. So as of right now, I don't know if it's doing anything inside my body. I'm also on red light therapy, which is, you can do that at pretty much almost every gym in America now has them. It's for skin and cell reproduction and healing and stuff like that, and cancer cells or corruption. So I don't know if it's working or not. That's the problem with all this stuff. My wife puts castor oil in my belly button every night. I have no idea why. She was recommended it by somebody, so she puts castor oil in my belly button. And I know it's weird, but it might work. If it does work, then I'm sharing something as the process goes along that worked for me. Everybody is different. I get that. But this is the journey I'm on. And I want to keep people updated on what I'm trying and what I'm doing. Obviously, I'm still on the carnivore diet. I'm not eating any sugar whatsoever. And if you are like me, I like meat. Of course, I liked everything at one time, but I like meat. And I'm using G. Hughes barbecue sauce, which is a sugar-free barbecue sauce. It's really good. It's the best one I've found so far. Far beats anybody. You can pick it up at any grocery store. And G. Hughes is, they make all kinds of the ketchup, mustard, honey mustard, dipping sauces, all that other stuff. They're all sugar-free, and they're pretty healthy for you. So I've been doing that and just eating meat. I have lost roughly around 45 pounds right now since I started this 6 months ago. And I know that you lose weight in cancer. I haven't figured out why yet, why you lose weight in cancer, but I wouldn't recommend it as a weight loss program. But I am losing weight, and I'm kind of documenting that as I go along. And I'm working normal. I do have good energy right now, and my lungs, I'm not having any breathing issues. I'm not taking anything for my lungs right now, or any pain outside of Tylenol. Even though I'm in a lot of discomfort, I'm not going down the route of trying to block the pain. One of the things I know is I'm trying to build up my tolerance for pain because I got more pain coming. So I try to work through that. But also with insurance and all that stuff, I'll tell you, I'm on Medishare insurance, and we'll kind of talk through that. The church is going to be starting a GoFundMe because I'm going to have to pay a lot out of pocket as we move forward in this. And we'll just kind of keep you updated on maybe different things to help as I look for other ways to help other people through this journey too, and give advice. But I'm a pastor, so a lot of it will be spiritual too. What is death like? What are we looking forward to on the death side of things? When I was growing up, I was afraid of death, very much so much so that I would sleep when I'd get panic stricken of death. I would sleep in the hallway so I could hear my parents breathe, so I know they were alive. And scared of death so much so that I slept with a light on for a long period of time, and just scared of dying. That changed when I became a believer and a follower of Jesus, on the level of finally the answer to what happens after death began to be answered. And I started looking at the Bible, which is the inventor of heaven and the founder of it, and started understanding a little bit more about death and what to expect. And the Bible doesn't leave any questions unanswered about death. And we'll talk about all those. what to expect, what happens when we die. One of my favorite episodes of MASH, which really was kind of where everybody was thinking, was they documented a soldier who came in that was injured and was going to die. And they did it from his eyes, with everybody wanting to know what he was feeling like and what death was like. And I think that episode really raised a lot of points and answered a lot of questions that people really want to know what death is all about. And when you get cancer, death obviously rises to the forefront. And many people die, even young, from cancer. It spreads, it eats your body, it does all kinds of bad things to you. And your loved ones are along for the journey. So, my goal in all this is hopefully to bring comfort, but ideas, to share ideas you may share with me, to try things along the way, but also to share with you the journey of what it is to have faith along this process. Because many people confuse faith with doing nothing. And they'll say things like, well, I can't believe you're going to a doctor. Don't you have any faith that God will heal you? But what if God wants to use the doctors? What if God wants to use you to share your faith with other people in the medical world? When we rule out those options because we claim that faith is the only way to do something, we really limit God. And there's no limiting to God. God allowed this to happen. He didn't cause cancer. Sin is a direct result of cancer, and we'll get into that in 2 weeks. But God didn't cause this. God didn't make me have cancer so he could do something. God allowed cancer, certainly, but he promises to turn it to good, and that's the focus, right? And so along this journey, I'm hoping that maybe your focus will become a little bit more, what is the good that can come out of this? And looking for the good. So this is just an introduction. The next ones will be probably a little bit longer, but hopefully you'll join us for this journey and begin the process of this podcast. I do video Bible studies every week and church services online. Never done a podcast, so this is my first podcast. And hopefully you'll join me each time along the journey. I'll be sharing it with my friends and family so they can keep updated on my medical situations and along that process. But as for now, you have a great day. Thank you for joining us. Till death do I part.